I'm Dean Newland, and welcome to Leadovation. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. This podcast is dedicated to the art and science of innovative leadership. Through insightful interviews with industry experts, I bring you cutting-edge strategies and experiences of innovative leadership, helping you think differently, act strategically, and achieve remarkable results. Join me as I provide insights and tools that empower you to make smarter decisions, forge meaningful relationships. Welcome to Leadovation. What if I told you that AI is not just a shiny new object, but a truth serum for your organization? The moment you try to implement it, everything that's broken, your workflows, your culture, and your leadership blind spots will be exposed. I suspect the opposite is also true, that AI is not only there to uncover what isn't working well, but it can also uncover what is working well and can make you not only good, but also great. So here's the real question. Are you ready for AI, or are you just hoping it'll fix what you haven't faced? Or are you waiting for consistent platforms before you actually dive in? This episode is for CEOs, team leaders, coaches, HR professionals, and anyone feeling a bit overwhelmed by the speed of change, but excited about the potential of AI. Whether you're experimenting with ChatGPT or wondering how to scale its use across your company, Greg Shove brings clarity, strategy, and urgency to the conversation. Greg isn't just an AI thought leader. He's the CEO of an AI company, a trusted educator for business leaders, and quite refreshingly, not a techie. He's here to talk real world AI, not the hype. So here are 4 highlights that you should want to hang out and listen to this episode so that you get the clarity of our conversation. Number 1, AI is indeed a mirror. Before you apply AI, audit your workflows. If your processes are messy, AI will only amplify the chaos and give you opportunities to solve it. Number 2, adopt the right mindset. Don't treat AI like a search engine. We've got Google for that. It's a thought partner. Learn to converse, not just query. And also, start with language-heavy tasks. Focus on marketing, sales, and knowledge work first, where AI delivers the fastest ROI. And lastly, for all you coaches out there, prepare for AI coaching. Traditional training is being replaced by real-time AI role-playing, especially for soft skills like feedback and conflict. Think about how well you could actually increase your coaching abilities if you had somebody these clients could work with when they don't have their every other week meeting with you. Lastly, stay with us as Greg unpacks the optimize, accelerate, transform framework that he will explain and give us some ways to lead and thrive through the next 5 years of AI-driven intervention and innovation. Greg Shove on the Leadovation podcast. Greg, it's great to have you on the show. I was just thinking about this topic around AI, and as you know, we are in almost like a gold rush when it comes to this new technology. I was just thinking about the last 5 or 6 different meetings that I was involved in with CEOs and their teams. And every time they wanted to talk about what are we doing with AI? How are we being able to get a hold of it and being able to even understand what we should be doing? And so my mind goes, and I want to get your thought on this, is that there's the bright shiny object, which is the tool, and then there's the function by which we're trying to make better. And I'm almost thinking about, do we need to have these CEOs and these companies start looking at their organizations, their customer service, et cetera, from a standpoint of how could they make it better, and then use AI to be able to solve for that? Or do we got to change it up and really understand AI before we start understanding how it can be a benefit? Like, how do we get this ball rolling, man? What's the first thing that these poor souls, myself included, should be doing? Because it's coming at us so fast. And give us some guidance about first steps.
All right. Well, actually, I'll answer the first part of your question first, and then we'll talk about first steps. So first of all, Dean, great to be here.
Thank you.
With you and your audience. I think that AI is going to be a truth serum for organizations. Because I think when you begin to seriously attempt to implement AI inside your organization, you're going to find out how broken your processes are, how you
Hmm.
don't understand how things get done and actually generate value for customers. You'll expose cultural and management issues as well, because you need an organization that's well run, quite frankly, in my opinion, to introduce AI into it successfully in this moment. So I think that the best run companies, just like the best people, are going to use AI like a performance enhancing drug, like a steroid. They're going to accelerate because they are well run with well defined processes, well defined outcomes, well defined inputs, good culture, good management, good growth mindset, good change adaptability. The things you need to take advantage of AI, the best companies probably have those. And so they're going to have a much easier time deploying AI, quite frankly, and getting business value. I agree with you. For a lot of organizations, this is going to be tough simply because we don't have good internal process. And then if you slap AI onto bad internal process, it's not going to go well.
Hmm.
And so I think what we need to do, and this is the second part of my answer to your question, what are first steps? First steps are workflow audits. It sounds boring. I'm sorry. But if you're going to implement AI into a team or even as an individual, know how you spend your time, know what inputs you take, what work you do, and what outputs you're responsible for individually and as a team. Basically document that. The first thing we do when we're asked to help a client is we really try to document their workflows. What are the most important workflows in the organization that are likely going to be language intensive? We always start with language intensity because that's what AI is good at, right? They're large language models. So you
Right.
think about marketing, you think about sales, you think about software engineering. Those are the initial organizations where AI is landing hard. In some cases, hard like not well. In some cases, it's landing hard, meaning it's going well, because those are very language intensive functions. And if those are well-run organizations with sort of clear inputs and outputs, then you can then look at where AI can be applied. Individually, first steps, Dean, like get your hands on a good LLM, pay
Hmm.
for it. The free versions are decent, but splash the $20 a month and get paid, Chat GPT or Claude or
Right.
Gemini, and start to really spend half an hour a day having good conversations with AI. What I find, Dean, is those who are the most novice are also the most anxious. What's
Hmm.
great about AI is if you start playing with it and then really trying to use it in your day job, you'll realize it's good, not great. It's not taking our jobs anytime soon because
Right.
it makes mistakes. It hallucinates Silicon Valley jargon for it just makes shit up, right? So these are very imperfect machines. If you know how to use them, you can borrow 30 points of IQ every morning when you go to work.
It's a
So
great
my point of
point.
view is,
Wow.
why would you not? I won't hire someone who doesn't know how to use AI, obviously. And my expectation at my company, and of course we're an AI company, so my
Yeah. Yeah.
expectation is
Yeah.
everybody's using AI probably every hour, certainly every day, and that's
So
because
yeah, so the large language model you're saying is first and foremost get to understand that.
yeah, get to know it. Here's what I
Yeah.
think. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, had a great quote I saw recently, and I see this in my own company, and I see it with our clients. People over the age of 30, and by the way, I'm 63 and I type with two fingers, so I can, if I figured this out, which I think I've done pretty a good job of. I think
Yeah.
anybody can, quite literally. I'm not a techie kind of guy. I live and work in Silicon Valley, but I'm more of a kind of startup CEO, marketing, sales guy. So I think we can all figure this out. But if you're older, you think about it like Google. A lot of people use AI like it's Google. That's a mistake. It's not a search engine. It's a co-intelligence that you have a conversation with. People in their 30s, 20 to 30s, use it more like an advisor, which is a great way to use it. We can talk more about that. AI as a thought partner.
Hmm.
And then people in their 20s, Sam Altman described them as using AI like an operating system for their lives. These are the AI native sort of kids. They're probably in high school or college today, coming out of college. They go to AI for everything. I just hired someone, Dean, out of Columbia undergrad. So he just graduated, political science degree from Columbia. And he's probably the youngest member of our team currently. And he doesn't even think about, should I use AI for this task? He just
He does
uses
all the
it
time.
all the time. Every task or work or project we give this kid, he goes straight to AI, GPT, or Claude are the two favorite AIs, at
Yeah.
my companies, and just starts working with AI. And so, we want to welcome these people into our companies because they're graduating soon, and we're going to want them to work with us. So we're going to have to, I think, get ourselves as comfortable as we can, as fast as we can. That means just sit with AI for 30 minutes every day and have some good conversations with it.
It's interesting you say that. I'm also the same age as you, but I use
You look better,
AI.
by the way. You get
No, 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 no. I don't.
and
I
you're
wouldn't
tan,
say
and
that
you're
at all.
tan. You got the advantage of the tan.
Well, it was a. I think we had some time at the beach not long ago, but nonetheless, but it's become a point where maybe I'm just fortunate, but I now use it all the time. I literally anything that I'm beginning to do with work where I'm doing research, where I'm trying to create something, I don't even go to what I did before. I'm always curious to see if AI can actually help me. Now, what I don't know, and this is maybe my second question for you, is the whole large language model, ChatGPT, and they can even create images and PowerPoints and so forth. I get that. And I'm finding tremendous benefit out of it. The consolidation of things that would normally take us 4 hours takes us like 10 minutes. So I love that. And of course, you got to go back and clean it up because it doesn't always get it perfect. To your point, the hiccups and the hallucinations. But what's the next level? That to me feels like that's elementary school. What is what is what is high school AI going to be? What should these people be thinking about who are listening? All right, Greg, Dean, I get it. I got to get ChatGPT under my belt. What do I do after that? Because now you're getting into agents, you're getting into these different, more complex models. Things are coming out all the time to be able to do things for you. What's the next iteration of our learning?
I'm I'm reluctant to answer that question,
Go for it.
meaning because I think just staying pace and using AI a lot is probably good enough for the next couple of years because
Okay.
these models are getting so much better. Every 6 months, it looks like AI basically doubles in performance in terms of its capabilities. So that's an incredible rate of change in terms of improvement in these technologies and their capabilities. So at one level, I would say just keep using your favorite AI a lot
Okay.
in all of your kind of personal workflows. I would say certainly, although agents are completely overhyped, we're beginning to see, if not agents, we're seeing AI assisted workflows. So I would point people to, if they use OpenAI products, to something called a GPT, which is like a personal agent. Or if
Hmm.
you use Claude, they have Claude projects. Or if you use Microsoft, they call it Microsoft Studio. Every one of these LLMs has some sort of ability to do a couple things, kind of introduce your own training material, like your own content,
Mm-hmm.
uh, collaborate with others with the AI, and then have the AI take over and do some of those tasks for you. The best example that's actually commercially available are the deep research capabilities that are now inside of
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. And just I would say to people, go there next, meaning take a significant project or a challenge or question you have. Could be at home, could be a medical. I use deep research all the time
Yeah.
as a second opinion in terms of medicine, or it could be at work. We use it all the time at work for competitive analysis, go to market work, so more substantial questions, and just let it rip. And it'll take a minute to 10 minutes. Deep research is, slower because it's really
Right.
taking a lot of steps. It's essentially an agent for research and
Sure.
analysis. And so, go there next, maybe go to building your own GPT or building your own Claude project, where you're really beginning to see, okay, now I can sort of package work together and have AI do multiple steps for me. I think that's probably next. And then,
Okay.
by the way, I think we'll begin to see AI turning up in our lives with less friction. So I was looking at something that's in a Google developer release, not available to consumers yet, where you can screen share with Gemini. And Gemini is basically watching while you're working on whatever it is you're working, a doc,
Whoa.
an Excel spreadsheet, or you're writing code or something. And it can essentially help you So it's almost like it's looking over your shoulder while you're working. And that might sound creepy to some people in terms of privacy. It doesn't to me. I'm promiscuous with my data with AI because I see the benefit of
Yeah.
the more AI knows about me and the more AI can work with my documents and my content and my data. I get
Yeah.
more value from AI. But we're going to get soon in the next year or so to a place where AI is going to be easier to work with, be less friction. We may not even have to prompt it, in the next couple of years.
All right. So I got two questions that made me think about with this. Going back to some basic stuff with the large language models like ChatGPT, if I've got a I don't know, a particular thing that I ask it, and we're working on a client, we're getting into some details and data, uh, but and it obviously it's learning about me in the way in which I'm asking these questions. But then I go to another, if you will, chat with ChatGPT. Does it have to start over, or does it remember what I asked it before in the other chat?
Yeah, great question. So a couple of things about sort of how to get the most out of something like GPT. First
Yeah.
of all, if you are an OpenAI customer and use ChatGPT, fill out your custom instructions. That's one advantage of paying
No
for
kidding.
ChatGPT. Custom
Okay.
instructions really improve the
Oh,
experience. So, and I'm surprised how many people who are power users don't really know about custom
I didn't
instructions.
even know about that.
Yeah, so exactly. So go fill out your custom instructions. There's two questions that it asks you to answer about, one about yourself and one about how you like to work with AI, how you like your output. Do you like it in bullet points? Do you like it in prose? Do you like it in haiku? AI can basically change how it works with you. So fill out custom instructions. That's number one. Number two, uh, all these AIs have memory now. And I'd say with ChatGPT, it's most visible where you can notice the AI is responding to you and is remembering things about you. And by the way, in your settings in ChatGPT, you can see what it's committing to memory. It's picking up things like, oh, you're married, or you have kids, or your favorite vacation spot, whatever it is, and it'll put it in memory. You can delete those things out of memory if you want, and
Huh.
you can add into memory. By the way, you can say to your AI, commit this to memory, or don't forget this, please. And I say, please, I'm Canadian, I'm nice. So
Well,
it will, it'll commit to memory. Again, it does not, it's not a mind-blowing experience yet, but it is a little uncanny where you realize, oh, this AI is remembering this stuff about me. You can see where we're going. These are going to be much more useful systems because they will have a more complete picture of our lives. And then to answer your question specifically, it won't carry the conversation across two chats.
okay, I
So
didn't think so.
yeah,
Okay. So,
that's why you build projects. So both in GPT and Claude
yes.
and Gemini, this idea of projects I think are really useful. If you want to have a sort of a longer ongoing conversation over weeks, months, a year or so, about a specific project, create a project. You'll see them in the UI for these AIs. And again, some of those projects, some of the AIs allow you to collaborate. Your chats can be private, but the project and all the documentation that was loaded into the project can be shared. So let me give you an example, Dean, how we use this
Hmm.
at our company. We have a project inside of Claude. That's the kind of primary independent competitor to OpenAI. Anthropic is the company, Claude is the LLM. So they have this same feature called projects. We have a project for our company that essentially is the company expert. And my
Hmm.
chief of staff keeps that project up to date with all the key documents that define our company, our mission, vision, values, our
You're
operating
kidding.
principles, right? Our business plan, our product roadmap, our pricing model, our board decks, our monthly board email summaries, like all the documents and content that I think you should know about if you work at my company, and or if you're going to brainstorm with AI about something. I want you referring to the latest documents. So
But that's within a project, though.
it's within a project, so anybody has access to the project. And more importantly, I say to everybody, if you're going to brainstorm and work with AI on something related to the business, go do it in this project, because that project has access to all the documents that matter. It's essentially been trained on our content. And I know those documents are kept up to date because my chief of staff is responsible for that. So you're not looking at an old business plan, or you haven't taken the old product roadmap and uploaded it to have a conversation with AI, because it's the old product roadmap. That's not going to be a very productive conversation, right? So I have this idea of kind of a company expert. Think about it for onboarding new employees.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're going to create AI projects. Soon it'll be agents, but for now,
Right.
use projects or GPTs, a custom GPT. If you use Chat GPT, we have one for all kinds of. We have about 50 GPTs. We have more GPTs than employees at one of my company's section. We've got 30 odd employees and we've got more than 50 GPTs. And this is what we're going to see in the future, right? We are going to have more agents than employees. But these GPTs can be really useful. And like I said, onboarding is a great use case. Load up all the documents you want a new employee to know about inside of the project or inside of the GPT, and then direct new employees to that, and they can be onboarded in a much more efficient way. Listen.
Can you have projects within projects?
I don't think you can. Good question. Don't know.
So we could have one big project with a lot of content put inside of it, a lot of chats, if you will, that would ask questions and so on and so forth, and anybody could access that.
Yeah, but the chats can be private, right? So when you're chatting,
okay,
the chats are private because you probably want to keep that privacy, but the documents and the shared knowledge, if you will, are available to anyone that uses that project. So we can see where we're going, right? We can see less friction to use AI, talking to AI. I really encourage everybody to download the AI apps on their phone. Again, that's the reason I pay for AI. So I've converted probably an hour or so of podcasting time each week to just talking with. I use ChatGPT advanced voice mode. I think it's just amazing. It is like being in away mode. It feels like you're living in the future when you talk to AI. So we're going to have less friction to use AI. We're going to have collaborative spaces for AI. We're going to have agents or augmented workflows, if you will, where a little more automation is happening, and the AI is maybe taking 2 or 3 steps for us. Now that can also fail faster, right?
Sure.
If the AI makes a mistake in the first step and then passes that mistake on to the second step and so on, that's why agents I think are overhyped and not all really ready for prime time. But again, you can see where we're going with this stuff, and relatively quickly. And this is one of the points I want to really highlight for your audience. That if we're waiting for this to settle down,
it ain't.
And sort of looking for the one AI to bet on, or waiting for these things to kind of slow down so we can then learn it, that's a mistake. Like this stuff's going to be accelerating at the current pace for the next 5+ years. There's no slowdown coming. So, we need to jump in.
Some companies are concerned about AI from a legal or a security or privacy perspective. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of misinformation about security and privacy risks with AI, and I think a lot of people have sort of exaggerated these risks, partly to scare us, because that's what the media does these days. Right? The media wants to outrage us in some way and get us to click, and so stories about the robots are coming for us, or they're going to be surveilling us and stealing all of our data and so on. And then there's just sort of different issues at play, and they tend to get conflated. So let's separate them. But one is how the AIs work, and do the AIs have access to my personal information? And the reality is you have control of that. Most of the AIs, and I'll keep using OpenAI, ChatGPT as sort of my case study here because it's just easier and they have the biggest market share. But the way ChatGPT works is they hold your personal information, meaning your conversational, your conversations, for 30 days. They do that for essentially legal reasons, meaning in terms of criminal law reasons. Like they want to be able to access that in case something happens bad, and if they were asked by the federal authorities, that they've got 30 days of chat history. After that, your data is wiped, and your data does not help train the AI model. That's a setting. Set it so it's off in your settings. And again, all the AIs offer this control, so your data is not training the model. So that's the first thing. By the way, for companies, this is the default setting in the enterprise versions of their products. So if you are a CEO, as I am, and you are, of a small company, use ChatGPT for Teams. It costs an extra $5 a month, And again, the other AIs have similar kind of capabilities. And the default setting is your data does not go back to the AI model. Your data is private, whether it be an individual or company. And then GPT for enterprise, or Google for enterprise. Those are absolutely enterprise grade products. Your data is not being shared with the AI. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, are we worried about cybersecurity? Are we worried about AI companies getting hacked?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We should be. We should be worried about Amazon getting hacked, and they have all of our transactional data, and
Right.
so on. AI companies will know a lot about us. So I absolutely will admit that OpenAI knows more about me than Google. I had cancer 3 years ago. Google thinks I had cancer because it can tell that from my search results. OpenAI knows I had cancer, in fact, knows what kind of cancer I had because I uploaded my scans and my tumor reports to GPT to get advice.
Hmm.
So, absolutely, I think AIs will know more about us than Amazon or Google. And so if they get hacked and our data is leaked, I think that's a legitimate risk, obviously. Again, I have decided personally that the benefit outweighs the risk. But again, kind of data leakage is a risk across all of the digital platforms that
Yeah.
we all engage with every day.
Very technical question here. If I have ChatGPT for myself, but I wanted to be able to upgrade to ChatGPT for Teams, do I lose what I've done for my own work, or can that just be folded into the Teams platform?
Yeah, great question. So I have two separate accounts. And the great thing about ChatGPT is the interface to switch between those two accounts is really easy.
Okay.
It's harder when I use Claude, meaning I've got two separate accounts on Claude as well, but I've got to kind of log out and log in. In GPT, you can just toggle between your two accounts. So I have a personal account, and I try to keep most of my personal stuff there, obviously. And we have the GPTs for business account, for Teams account, and so my kind of
Hmm.
that company work is done there. So you do have to remember and pay attention, or you pick one account and
But one won't know what the other one is doing. Like, say, for
correct.
an example, right now
No,
I've got a lot of stuff. Most of what I do, I can't say that. 75% of what I do with ChatGPT right now, is under business. The other 25% is,
yeah.
travel. Where do I want to go for dinner? All the other fun things that I might want to do for my own research personally. But so if I end up upgrading to ChatGPT for Teams, it's not going to know what I've been doing on an individual level. I got to keep that. Okay.
You got to keep that in mind. And you probably have
Yeah,
slightly different custom instructions in those both accounts, right? In terms
totally.
of
Got it.
your profile. Again, we can imagine these coming together at some point
Yeah.
as a feature. Like, do you want to merge sort of the data and the history and the memory in your accounts,
Right.
for example? But no, they currently don't cross over. They're two separate accounts. And of course, there is this idea of temporary chats, which is kind of like going incognito on the internet, which is a new feature from ChatGPT, which I think is useful and makes sense, where you can have a chat and the contents of that conversation are not committed to memory and the chat disappears. So, if you want to do
Hmm.
something that's very private and personal, then you can do it, at least with ChatGPT, with something called temporary chats. And you'll notice that in the
Okay.
UI.
Okay. So going back to something you'd said earlier, right now we've got a couple of clients that we're working with right now that are really into understanding how they can map the client experience and map the employee experience. We're coming up with major milestones within the life of a client and the major milestones within the life of an employee, and we're really digging into it. And you can put it all under human experience versus segmenting them out. They all got to be sort of integrated. I think it's really cool. I mean, I think that's a great way to go. But I guess my thought about AI is if you have a company that's so high touch and they're all about service, I wonder about where the automation, certainly when you have a customer facing automation, starts to erode on mission and vision and values. Like for me, I know that it's very much an efficiency thing for a company like a bank or like an airline, who, when I call them up and I've got to spend literally 2 or 3 minutes going through the prompts and telling them representative before I can actually talk to a human being. And by the time I finally do talk to a human being, my blood pressure has probably gone up. So to me, if I was of the CEO of that company who has a customer service value, I might say we need to find a way to automate without it eroding the customer experience. What's your thoughts on how AI doesn't get in the way of our value to serving our customer in a human-centric way?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dean. I use a framework. I've done it for last 2 years now, called OAT: Optimize, Accelerate, Transform. OAT. Here's how I
Okay.
think we should. This is, I think, a framework we should all use when we think about deploying AI at our companies or teams. So, optimize means, as you said, where are the efficiencies internally that I can optimize the business? Likely the clients don't see that. They might, but let's assume again in your case where your kind of use case is client, sort of client heavy, human interaction heavy, high touch, sort of business service presumably. Optimize, likely the client won't see it, but you should be using AI wherever you can to optimize your business in terms of internally. That'll create hopefully hours in the day or hours in the week, which you decide what to do with it. You can go walk the dog, take another yoga class, or you could decide to work on something, right, and make the organization more capital efficient, more headcount efficient. CEOs probably want that, right? They want headcount
Mm-hmm.
efficiency and capital efficiencies, but so that's how we all should be using AI. When I think about every organization in the world right now, I'd say almost everyone. Maybe a few can't use AI because of the nature of the workforce or because of regulatory reasons. But even in not just even, but especially in medicine and healthcare delivery, we're seeing AI everywhere now in terms of helping optimize. Acceleration means something different. Acceleration means, can I meaningfully accelerate my business by improving the customer experience by introducing AI? So will AI make my product or service better in a way that I can meaningfully change the growth of the business and measure that outcome? Higher retention, higher price per customer or contract value per customer, higher referral rates or NPS, whatever they might be, right? That's about acceleration. The last is transformation. So transformation means, holy shit, I need to do something fast, either to create a new product because I see this unbelievable opportunity that AI is now enabling, or frankly, I have to react to AI and maybe AI native competitors. And if I don't transform my business, I'll get smoked, right? There's probably 10 to 15, 20% of organizations around the world that are in that mode, meaning they have to transform. Clearly in media, in advertising, in online education, these are very language intensive businesses that are about to be really disrupted very quickly and dramatically by AI. That's transformation. So acceleration is what you're talking about. Should I really introduce AI into my product or service in a way that's not just window dressing, not performative AI, but sort of real AI where the customer will feel it and experience it, and will that be better for them such that they'll be more loyal, pay more, be happier? And I think that's a judgment call, obviously, that a CEO should make. And if you're in a
Yeah.
very intensive business, maybe the answer is not that introducing AI won't enhance, might even degrade the customer experience, and therefore why bother? Use AI to optimize. And by the way, we could use AI to be optimizing for the next 5 years and get plenty of ROI out of AI, just making ourselves internally more efficient. I'll say one last thing, Dean. In a world where so much is going to be generated by machines, including video, avatars, voice. As I said, I drove in a Waymo to my office this morning. The lack of humanity in our lives is going to increase in an AI-generated world. So I'm really excited about, frankly, human experiences. I'm excited about investing in startups that are creating new, human experiences, because we're going to want, and I think we'll be willing to pay for it, some of this.
Do you
More
think that in
bespoke.
some ways, I just got this thought, we pay to go to the forest to walk through and get this forest bath of wonderful
Mhm.
fresh air. We get on boats to smell the salt air and so forth. Are we going to be paying much like you would go to Disney for human experience? Is that where we're heading?
Oh, of
Almost like
course.
the
Yeah,
human
yeah.
experience. I mean, and it's a question for the future, but I'm going to make a comment that I've noticed post COVID and the advent of people not really going back to work. I mean, they might be told to come back to the brick and mortar, but we're still on Zoom with the person who's sitting across from us, right? So, and I'm noticing that there is a kind of social flabbiness that we've got going on, that we forgot how to have a conversation. We forgot how to have conflict in a way that's respectful, that we've become afraid of interacting with people. In a sense, I remember after COVID, I finally got a group of people together and there was some activity that required some sort of physical touch that we were going to do. And people, some people, 20% of them said, I prefer not. And they said, I realized that 2 or 3 years ago, this would have been no big deal. So I guess I'm curious about what's your thoughts around the human experience component as it relates to AI?
I mean, I would agree with everything you just said. And by the way, what a terrible work experience for people graduating from college to go to work remotely.
No kidding.
I mean, it's just on so
But they
many
were probably remote when they were in college too.
yeah. I mean, on so many dimensions, it's bad, right?
Yeah,
In terms of just learning how to work, learning what business is, or learning what the job is. Social isolation, especially when you're young. You're in probably a pretty small one-bedroom apartment. If you're lucky, maybe it's a studio. Yeah. So listen, I agree with all the above, and I think it's going to get worse, not better.
Hmm.
Quite frankly, meaning I think that AIs are going to be very powerful, very human, uncannily so. I think a lot of young men are going to, not just men, but a lot of people will get companionship from AIs, and in
AI
some
girlfriends.
AI girlfriends, and I think there's always two sides to every coin.
Yeah,
So yeah, AI therapy, AI coaching, AI advisors, good. Most people can't afford a personal coach. Most
right,
people can't afford a therapist.
right.
So there's a lot of good that comes with access to intelligence and access to human grade intelligence, I think. And
Yeah,
there's going to be the other side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is going to be more isolation and some more social flabbiness,
yeah.
and that people are going to find it easier to talk with their AI companion than to get out in the real world and get into a bar.
So then the question that at some point, way down the road, probably past our lifetime, is then how do we then define the real world? I mean, I'm thinking about the Matrix, and they're like, okay, welcome to the real world. I mean, is the real world no longer going to have the antecedent be human experience? Is it really the real world is now we are lowercase h human in a uppercase AI world? I mean, are we then the secondary to the primary? The primary is technology, and that we no longer have the expectation for human interaction. You look like a real human being, therefore I'm going to assume that you are, but you're really not. You're just a good looking bot, right? Is there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, listen, I think that we're heading in the direction of merging these two worlds, if you will, and we'll see how far we get and how fast it happens. You put on that Apple headset 2 years
Oh,
ago when
damn.
it was mind
My
blowing, right?
my buddy's got one. I thought I was flipping out. I couldn't
It's
believe it.
wild, right? It failed. It's too expensive. It weighs too
It's
much. Your head hurts after 10 minutes, kind of
yeah.
thing. But the first time you put it on, it's like wow, right? I want to live
And the
in here.
newer versions are incredible.
Yeah, because you want to live in there some of the time because they're
Right.
pretty good, right? And by the way, life is hard, and
Hmm.
and and we're not even when we think about life outside of Western democracies, it's even harder.
Yes.
And so in some respects, digital life will be a refuge for
Yeah.
many people because their real life is hard. For us, we're talking about we have the ability to live in both these worlds because we have the access to technology, we have the wealth, and the wherewithal to be able to live in both of these worlds. Hopefully, we live most of our time in the real world. But yeah, these worlds are being integrated. And of course, Neuralink, which is one of Elon Musk's companies, will try to accelerate the
Yeah.
integration of these two worlds in some way.
Yeah.
I think humanity is certainly changing.
Definitely. So let's. Well, we got a couple more minutes since it. Some of the people here are going to be curious about this topic about learning and development. You talk about coaching. You talk about being able to train and being able to influence behavior. The speed, of course, of getting access to information and being able to have somebody give you an answer to something, I think is fascinating. Certainly, if you know enough about a person, like for example, I'm beginning to create within ChatGPT certain folders of clients. And so when I end up having a coaching conversation with them or we do a facilitation for their team, I'll throw that information in that particular folder. And then now that folder, that ChatGPT component understands this person well enough. And I can go, all right, given the fact that you know this person, how would they react to this situation? And that it kind of gets me thinking like, oh, I never thought about that. So it's great. And so I can come to a conversation with a client as a coach or consultant facilitator, having some pretty good tools behind me. What else can this be used for? And are we seeing the replacement of coaches? I mean, like in a standard way that we see coaches now.
Yeah. My wife's an executive coach.
Yeah.
And
okay.
she has her clients build GPTs with all the notes from their conversations. And her advice to her clients is use the GPT, use the AI when I'm not available. So if you have a question, I'm not around, you only see me once every 2 weeks for an hour, then use AI and you're going to get some great support. So absolutely. I think mediocre coaches are going to struggle, quite frankly. I think we'll have an explosion of coaching, if you will, AI coaching made available in a very low cost or near free way to a lot of people who don't have access today. I think the best coaches are going to be great because they'll be more valuable, just like the best lawyers. If you're a great lawyer, I think you're going to be able to bill more because you're a human and you'll show up either on Zoom or in person and be able to charge more. And for all that sort of easier legal advice, I think people are going to use AI. So I think that absolutely we'll see a bifurcation of a lot of skills or professions where the superstars are going to be more valuable and the middle will get hollowed out. I think that's a real reality and risk for people, that if you're in a profession and you're not that good at it and you're not that committed to it and you're kind of phoning it in, I think you're at real risk, whether you're a lawyer or a writer or a coach, or even a doctor. And so I think that's what's going to go on. I would also say, Dean, that upskilling and coaching kind of merge. We've always talked about the promise of online learning was personalization and affordability and accessibility. We never delivered on personalization. We did deliver on accessibility and affordability, right? Online learning, whether it be on Zoom or obviously videos online, incredible sort of breakthrough, if you will, the last 20 years, meaning you can make a lot of that training, you can make it available really cost effectively to large groups of people. Most people don't have the self-motivation to take advantage of it, but you can build large video libraries, training libraries, upskilling libraries, and make that content available. So we're not going to do that anymore, Dean. It's a waste of time.
What are we going to do then?
We're going to use coaches, AI coaches. Like my favorite example is crucial conversations or critical conversations. Everybody wants
crucial.
Every HR team wants to teach that. And
Correct.
If you look at every learning management system, LMS, LXP, whatever, there's always several classes like that or videos like that available in the archive.
You're right.
What a waste of time to ask an employee to watch a 30-minute video on LinkedIn Learning about how to have a crucial conversation.
Right.
It's the dumbest thing you can do. Tell them to go talk to the AI, have the AI adopt the persona of the person they're going to have that difficult conversation with, and role play the conversation with GPT or Gemini or whatever. You don't need to watch a video about it. There's going to be so much of management training, leadership training, really a lot of human skills that we're not going to learn by watching videos or taking a class. We're just going to go to our AI and say, I'm about to do this, have this conversation or do this performance review, whatever it is, can you help me out? And the AI is going to basically help you out, give you the playbook, role play it with you, flip the roles. You can even flip the roles with AI and say, you play the boss and I'll play the employee who's about to get laid off or about to get promoted. How should I have this conversation? So I think that AI coaching essentially for most skills and topics will replace upskilling. And L&D teams, quite frankly, need to move much faster in terms of disrupting themselves in a way and become the people that help their employees choose the right AI coach.
That's a great idea. I really like the idea. I've heard this before about being able to role play, say, for example, crucial conversations with an AI coach. it gets you one step closer to actually doing it. And I think that's where I remember there was one organization, just as a quick sidebar, who spent, I think, about $1 million on crucial conversations, and they all walked around with a great toolkit of being able to have these discussions, and yet they didn't have the trust in each other to be able to do it. They were too friggin' afraid to be able to have the conversations. But you might be able to build up a little bit more courage if you actually had some actual experience role-playing it with a AI coach. I think that's a great point. Greg, you and I, of course, we're going to talk afterwards because we've got a lot to discuss. But in terms of this podcast, close us out here if you could. How can people follow you? Tell people about your courses, the things that you teach, and just how to stay in touch with you.
Sure. First of all, go to prof.ai. Prof.ai, that's our consumer AI coach. And it's free for consumers. Companies need to pay for it. But I want everybody to move. If you are a novice and a little bit anxious about AI, I want you to become confident and proficient and really secure your place in this age of AI. So go to prof.ai and just use that AI coach and kind of brush up your AI skills. That's the first thing. You can find me on. I'm Greg Shove on X or you can find us at sectionai.com. And for your audience, Dean will provide a discount code. We'll put it in the show notes so they can get I guess half off, 50% off an annual membership.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
All of Section's AI curriculum and content.
That's great. Well, Greg, fascinating conversation, and I've learned a lot. We are definitely at the precipice, or we're already in a tremendous transformation, the likes of which we've never seen before. And I appreciate you being able to unpack the meaning and the value of it.
Thanks, Dean, for inviting me. It's a great conversation.
It's been great. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Leadovation with Dean Newlund. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or Mission Facilitators Leadership, go to mfileadership.com. That's mfileadership.com, or check the show notes. Reimagine, facilitate, flourish. Transform your leadership success with Leadovation.